Let me give you all some reflections on the first 100 days, and then I'm happy to take questions. Starting on the financial side of things, it's been a pretty amazing first 100 days. I'm not sure anyone anticipated that we would emerge from receivership as quickly as we did. That was really, I think, a strong vote of confidence in this administration and also on the importance of restoring democracy for the city of Harrisburg. We've taken back the reins of our own fiscal destiny. There's still a lot of work to be done. The city's structural deficit is certainly fragile, but to have dealt with as effectively as much long-term debt as we did is a pretty extraordinary thing, and to have emerged from receivership as quickly as we did is amazing and has garnered national and even in some cases international attention. We made our first payments on our general obligation bonds. We reestablished our creditworthiness by being able to go out and borrow again, which is pretty amazing when you think of how far the city has come. And just from a general financial management point of view, we've established basic controls in city government that didn't exist or hadn't existed for a long time on cash management, contract management, purchasing. Basic oversight, fiscal oversight of all of our departments has been a sort of major reform effort that's been going on internally since we took office. On a public safety standpoint, I am quite proud of the fact that I think we have really fundamentally transformed the approach to policing in Harrisburg. We have had 1,900 officer patrols. I just got that statistic from the chief yesterday since the start of the year, which is pretty impressive. It's already paying dividends. I believe violent crime is down, gun crime is down, and most importantly, we are establishing positive relationships between the community and our officers. Some of that is being led by our wonderful community policing coordinator in Dave Botero, who's been meeting relentlessly with all the neighborhood organizations and trying to forge that bond. We've also done pretty amazing things in terms of getting the surrounding municipalities to cooperate. Our chief meets regularly, of course, with Chief Martin, who's been consulting, but also with Chief Umberger and other chiefs in the surrounding municipalities. And we've gotten great buy-in from a public safety standpoint from the Dauphin County DA, and Ed Marsico has been supportive of our funding needs in the city and has funded additional cameras, additional equipment, county commissioners. Everyone has been working to try and rebuild the Harrisburg Police Department, and I think that's terrific. We had a great announcement earlier this week about increasing bail for those who are caught with illegal guns. I think that is going to pay dividends. It's worked well in St. Louis. It's worked well in other places in the Commonwealth, including Philadelphia. And we've got other plans coming from a code standpoint, including hopefully what will come soon, an announcement of a housing court, which we're not quite ready to announce yet, but has been a lot of work behind the scenes with the district justices and the county court system. As you know, we reorganized and we put codes under public safety as part of our determination to get tough on our war on blight. Part of that is establishing tools like a housing court. We'd like to propose a land bank for the city of Harrisburg. We've had those conversations already. Some of that is also about strategically, for the first time, developing a housing strategy. The reason we know how many blighted properties there are in Harrisburg is because I asked for that number. I've had them mapped. They have been integrated with the redevelopment authority's properties. We're going neighborhood by neighborhood, census tract by census tract, trying to talk about where we want to see development, where demolition might have the greatest impact, how we can deploy both our our in-house demolition team and our CDBG dollars most effectively to make the biggest difference for Harrisburg, rather than just simply reacting to what otherwise might seem an overwhelming number of blighted properties in the city. From a public works standpoint, we have undergone some major changes. We promoted a tremendously hard worker in Aaron Johnson, who was with this administration's help, able to pull off a major move that helped secure $300,000 for the city within the first 100 days. When we inherited the office, there was no plan. The clock was ticking, and we had to find a building, negotiate a lease, get city council's buy-in, and then basically move an entire facility that had accumulated for decades in a short period of time. We are about to relaunch the sanitation privatization process. That is something that we wanted to follow quickly on the heels of the Public Works move, but we're going to do things differently. We're going to do things apparently as they did in State College, Pennsylvania, and elsewhere. We're going to let the union itself bid and see if we can keep it in-house, what changes they might voluntarily be willing to make on a labor management side of things in order to help it be better service and more profitable for the city. We're also going to have City Council with us sort of every step of the way as we move forward on that project. From an economic development standpoint, one of our major successes was reorganizing the budget, bringing on board a talented new director, encouraging outside funding for that position, and all of that was accomplished despite some fireworks through City Council, and it's paying dividends. One of my frustrations has been that on some instances, City Council has not seemed to share the sense of urgency that I believe we need to have as a city in terms of moving things forward. So well over a month ago, we sent the comprehensive planning process down to City Council. We haven't even gotten a committee hearing on that yet. There was one scheduled for next week that's now been canceled, and I would have already liked us to have moved from City Council to the Planning Commission and then into the public with our comprehensive planning town halls and meetings. We are ready to move on that. We have a new director of planning, and we've done a lot of internal working on that, but it's time to bring the public into the discussion. City Council wanted to lead that charge, and so I would just call on them to try and move expeditiously with that. We've had other frustrations regarding the firefighter contract, which was a major issue that I feel we need to approach with a sense of urgency, but that has led to some delays, and we don't have to belabor that now. But I'd say that's one of the things that I've learned is that maybe what I see as urgent and a major priority for the city is going to take a lot of convincing and a lot of work to encourage others to sometimes feel the same way. On additional positive notes, one thing which I think is really exciting is, and also paying dividends, for the first time we're meeting regularly with our state delegation and our federal delegation. So I meet regularly with Patty Kim and Rob Teplitz. We meet every month. We talk about issues that affect the city and the region, and we talk about our legislative priorities. I've already proposed a series of anti-blight measures that I'd like to see them take up in legislative form. We could talk about those. On a federal level, we meet regularly with representatives from Casey's office, Toomey's office, Barletta's office, and Perry's office right here in this room. That has led to excellent conversations with FEMA about flooding, with the GSA, about the courthouse, with our various departments, about grant opportunities and funding opportunities for the city. We've discussed everything from David Dodd to what we can do to make sure that greater resources come to the city of Harrisburg. And everybody has been willing and receptive, and that's been very positive and bipartisan. I will say from a parks and rec and educational standpoint, we've got some big plans for the summer. For the first time, our recreational activities are partnering with the school district. I think that is going to be enormously beneficial to everyone. We also have instituted a variety of Adopt a Park programs and citywide cleanups, which I think everyone has seen. If you haven't seen what the United Way helped us do on City Island, or what other individuals and organizations have done in various parts of our park system so far, you've got to get out and see it. It's looking good. And we've got a lot of resources that we're bringing to bear, and we've applied for additional funding from the state in many cases to help support our parks. I would say from a communication standpoint, we've also done a lot of things. If you have been to the website, you know it's already had its initial facelift. There's a lot more that we can do, but we've got a full-time, wonderful webmaster now who's going to be working with each of the departments to help bring more information online, make it more accessible. And we also are well on our way to our 311 system. We have an application in with the Utilities Commission, and we are ready. We're already tracking calls that come in to City Hall and documenting them and making sure there's responses from various departments, but it'll all become streamlined and so much easier when there is one number to call when you have a question about what's going on and it's not an emergency. So I will just add on a final note, and then I'm happy to take your questions. I would also say that perhaps one of the great successes of the first 100 days is that we are well on our way to having accountability for the people of Harrisburg. I've said all along that we won't have a real fiscal recovery unless we have accountability for the crimes, illegal activities, unwise decisions, all of which happened in Harrisburg, which created the debt which we have had to sacrifice greatly to try and deal with. But we will have accountability. The coordinators team is working very hard on the civil side of things, and as you know, the Attorney General has taken over the criminal side of things. And I think that should inspire confidence on the part of the public, and I also want everyone to know that we have cooperated fully and are working very hard to make sure that they have the information that they need. A lot of that is taking place behind the scenes, but it will pay dividends, and I have never felt more confident of that, and I think that's a key part of our recovery strategy. So it's been a busy 100 days. From a personal standpoint, I will simply reflect that the job has been even more than I ever anticipated it would be. It's 12-hour days on a regular basis. You're always on. You have to move from one topic to another very quickly, and I've essentially had to take over the operational management of the city as well. I run the operations meetings. We don't have a COO anymore or a business administrator, so it's been a part of my responsibilities to help recruit, bring good people in, but also help lead on an operational standpoint direction on a regular basis. And as the city grows and gets greater capacity and continues to hire, I hope to shift more of that into my more public role of being an ambassador for the city. With that, do you have questions for me? Yes, sir.
First off, congratulations on the first 100 days.
Thanks.
You brought up your frustrations with City Council. Do you want to expand on that a little bit? Council did cut back on your salaries of Carl Singleton, Bruce Weber. They refused to fill an important environmental position. What do you have to offer to Council to get them to work closer or to work more aligned with what your administration goals are?
Well, I've spent a lot of time with City Council behind the scenes trying to talk about priorities. Sustainability is a really good example, I think, of a very bad process. That position was sort of cut at the last minute without warning, without really discussion. And it's hurt us. By cutting sustainability, we also cut our recycling coordinator. Recycling, reducing our energy inputs, our lighting projects, all of that should have gone through a sustainability office. It was a no-brainer. It was going to be paid for out of the host fee, so wouldn't have, which is certainly currently locked in gridlock in council because it can't be agreed on how to spend it. That's been frustrating. The firefighter contract should have just simply been a ratification. This was a collective bargaining agreement that the firefighters voted for. I was there in the meeting when the firefighter attorney, Tom Jennings, who's notorious, basically told City Council, go ahead and vote for it. This is what we voted for. There's no problem here. This is what the membership democratically said they wanted. And yet that didn't happen. And then, City Council has said that they want to take the lead in launching the comprehensive plan. So we gave it to them. We said, let's do this process. Let's have City Council begin the comprehensive planning process. And to date, we haven't had a hearing on that. And we haven't had hearings on our appointees and other things. So it's moving slowly. It is frustrating, but I will just have to redouble my efforts and work harder than ever to try and encourage them to feel a similar sense of unity and urgency. I think that City Council tends to be reactive, and maybe it sees its responsibility as simply there as a counterweight to the mayor's office, but it doesn't have to be that way. We should be working together to formulate policy and to move the city around, as quickly as possible.
Do you believe that there could be outside forces that are giving information to certain council people to put a stop to your administration, to slow down your goals, to not allow you to do what you're trying to get accomplished for the city?
Well, I do think there are outside forces that are interested for their own reasons in perhaps not having the city succeed or move quickly. But ultimately, it's up to the individual council members to do what's in the best interest of the public, and I will continue to try and encourage them to do that.
Mayor, obviously with the council,
Yeah.
one of the points of contention, you've had the Bishop Sullivan, Gene Vino. Was there anything in your first 100 days you regret doing?
No, I don't. With regard to Bishop Sullivan, as we've said repeatedly, 2 days before that building collapsed, I said in the atrium at a public forum that we were going to crack down on blight and bring misdemeanor charges such as reckless endangerment and go out actively with warrant sweeps, and that was met warmly and with great applause. Since Bishop Sullivan's arrest, there have been a number of individuals on that top list that have come in and voluntarily satisfied their warrants, which is the way it should be done, and I think it's very positive. And I think I don't regret that at all. I do regret the fact that the IMC and the NAACP haven't wanted to seize the moment as an opportunity to work collectively as a community to fight blight and to help reimburse the city and the neighbors the costs which they sustained due to that unfortunate incident. Regarding Gene Vino, I'll still say to this day, it is a very important story when the chief recovery officer does not believe his own plan is going to be successful. There were multiple people involved in that conversation when I had it with Vino originally, and I think it really cast doubt on the entire enterprise, and I would encourage the media to stick with it and not simply dismiss it as a he said issue. From a public standpoint, we can't afford to continue to spin our wheels and not see real, effective, positive academic improvement for the Harrisburg School District.
Are there any goals that you didn't achieve in your first 100 days that you wanted to?
Yes, I think getting the comprehensive plan launched, the Office of Sustainability, some of the things that I mentioned, the firefighter contract being ratified, all those I think are very important for the city, and they all sort of slowed down with City Council, really for reasons that I think are not fully known. I think James hinted at some of it, but ultimately we're going to have to move with speed if we're going to seize this window of opportunity that the city has for recovery.
That was a follow-up question I did try to ask right after James asked it, was if you acknowledge there are outside forces, so who wouldn't want the city to move forward and succeed? Can you identify?
Well, look, politics is always at play in everything that happens, and I think there are a lot of individuals that perhaps felt bankruptcy was the only option, or never agreed with the premise of the strong plan, or maybe are made uneasy with my clearly aggressive approach towards accountability. All these things are possible, but ultimately I would ask City Council directly themselves why they haven't advanced something like the comprehensive plan. It could be as easy as the fact that one member is campaigning for lieutenant governor and hasn't had time to be here to schedule a meeting.
Do you have a plan for the next 100 days?
I do. I told you sanitation is high on the list, and this is a real priority for the city and the comprehensive plan launch. And we will continue to send to council appointees for the various boards and authorities that are open. We've sent down quite a few names already. You'll see at the next administrative hearing. We're going to continue to hire. We're going to continue to build capacity. And we are working to deal with the fiscal realities of the city. As you know, there were assumptions in the budget that City Council voted for regarding the firefighter contract, and we're going to have to find alternative solutions for dealing with that deficit that is now in the budget. But that's what the mid-year review will be for, and we'll make whatever difficult choices we need to make. And the sooner we pass the contract, the better.
To back up to Sullivan again?
Yeah.
Is it true that Reverend Harris requested a meeting with you?
It is quite possible that Reverend Harris did request a meeting with me at one time, but what is your question?
That one.
Yeah.
When and what did he ask for?
I have not met with Reverend Harris.
But he did ask for a meeting.
It is possible that he would have asked for a meeting. Yes, one of the things that I'm going to be doing is establishing a new interfaith council for the city of Harrisburg. In fact, we're going to be meeting here shortly. We've got over 24 faith leaders from the community. I think it's time for the faith community to put forth a new organization that can help speak for a larger community than just the IMC.
Do you think that there are people in the city that aren't pulling their own weight?
What do you mean?
I mean, you're talking about establishing an interfaith council. I mean, it seems to imply that there are other tasks, other duties that other people could be doing that are simply holding it back. City council is holding back the firefighters' contract. Are there people that are holding the city back?
Well, I think that we all need to work together to move the city forward. Yeah. So to the extent that people aren't, pulling their collective energies in those directions, then I think that is a problem. I'm not here to basically. Rather than look to individuals who aren't interested in moving the city forward, I think we need to not give those individuals undue deference, but rather empower new individuals that are committed to positively transforming the city. And that's going to be a sort of major shift, and we need new leaders to emerge. But a lot of the old dynamics in Harrisburg are what led us to receivership in the first place, and that was basically not being able to make the difficult decisions ourselves from a political standpoint between the mayor's office and city council. So we want to change that.
Why do you think there is a power struggle between the mayor's office and city council?
Because I think city council is too used to understanding its role as simply a check on power, and understandably so, because for years in this town you had a mayor that wielded extreme power and had a very oppositional approach to city council and basically did everything within his power to avoid going to city council on financial transactions and other deals. We don't have that approach. We want to go to city council on everything. We want them to launch our comprehensive plan. We want them to be a part of what we're doing. But it is hard to change old suspicions and old patterns, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time and education, and also just perhaps the media and others putting pressure on folks to move quickly.
Mayor,
Yes.
you appeared before council a couple of weeks ago with some recommendations for seating certain people on boards, or actually having their terms reevaluated and I guess reclassified because their terms have expired. At this point now, Harrisburg Authority has only 3 members, and I think the board can have up to 5 members.
That's right.
Are you going to submit names, and have you had individuals that you have already filtered out that you are going to bring before council?
We're not quite prepared to move on the Harrisburg Authority yet. I understand that Mark Krowski's term has expired, but he stays until somebody is appointed in his place. And I think that we are currently working out with Capital Region Water a variety of details that really haven't been resolved about who's responsible for what, who's paying for what, all of which were sort of pushed together at the end of last year, and we've got to think through that a little bit. And we're having productive meetings with our Public Works team and their team, and we want to work collaboratively. But I think we need a sort of big picture approach to how we're gonna deal with them in the future. We have sent appointees down for the Housing Authority. We have sent appointees down for the Planning Commission, and both of those recognize sort of our priorities from an economic development and planning standpoint. And we will send folks down for the Harrisburg Authority. And there are other boards as well that are basically atrophied or expired. The members have expired. So.
Redevelopment Authority.
Redevelopment Authority is another one, and we will be sending those names down along with the proposal for a new Harrisburg land bank. So that is in process.
What about the new
Yes, sir.
federal courthouse?
So the story with the federal courthouse is that Congress told the judiciary to go back and relook at its list of prioritized courthouses and to report back to them with a new study. And the expectation is that the list of 11 or so courthouses is going to shrink down to maybe half that size, and that Harrisburg will still most likely be on that list because it is one of the most needed courthouses in the nation. And then it'll go back to Congress for funding allocations. But that's the process that the judiciary is in now. It is in reevaluating whether or not the courthouses themselves that were on the original list are necessary, and they should be reporting at the end of the summer.
So say,
Yes, sir.
Congratulations on your first 100 days.
Thank you.
I know there are many issues that you look forward to fixing for the city of Harrisburg. There are many impaired and damaged streets in Harrisburg that are affecting cars and also just people that are traveling on an everyday basis. In Harrisburg's budget, do you look forward to fixing that?
Yes. One of the things that we are doing internally is we're looking at our CDBG dollars. And we are really, for the first time this year, proposing reallocating a portion of those dollars internally for addressing city needs. And that is not how that process has been done. There's been a workshop with City Council, and but it comes down to dollars, right? And there are limited dollars in the budget currently. The other source of funds is the infrastructure silo that was created as a part of the Harrisburg Strong Plan. That task force has been meeting, and it's been the city's position that we want to be able to access those funds this year, before the end of this year, and be able to employ them for important projects, such as fixing those potholes.
Yeah, coming off that, the money
Yeah.
with the state money that we're getting, was that supposed to start in March or April?
Well, the task force has met, and I guess that started before March, right?
Right.
And they have been tasked with establishing a nonprofit organization which will then deploy the money. And they've met several times, and you should speak to the members, but the reports have been positive and productive, and they're on their way to getting that done. But I don't think the plan is to have the city be able to access some of those funds this year, but I think it'll be the second half of this year.
I think, Dave, were you referring to the DOT money?
Yes, the DOT money with the.
Oh, the DOT money?
Yeah.
The DOT money is available. The issue with the DOT money is that if used on state roads, it's 100% offer. If used on city roads, it requires a city match, and that is going to require funds that the city doesn't really have at the moment.
Was that the initial
So-
proposal?
The initial proposal the proposal was $2 million a
Right.
year for 5 years for a total of $10 million, and this is additional money coming to the city of Harrisburg on top of whatever its normal allotment and allowance is. What that means had to be sort of sketched out and negotiated with PennDOT, and basically what they've come down to the conclusion of is if we want to make improvements on their roads, it's 100%. If we want to make improvements on our roads, it requires a city match.
I didn't remember that being a part of the initial press conference. I mean, was that something you didn't know at the time, or?
I don't think anyone knew exactly what form the funding would take or how it would take, other than the fact that they were making the funds available.
'Cause I think on the list,
So-
even where you had the press conference up there near, was it Hall Manor?
That's right.
I mean,
We can
that-
still
that's not a
fund.
state
We
road.
can still fund that street, and we can still fund other city streets. But our matching abilities
Well, that's the point.
probably is it's a 30% match.
Okay.
So they're still willing to pay 70% of the costs on city streets. We have about $300,000 which we can allocate. So about half of that we can do, and then the rest we can budget for in future years. The other thing is that if we don't spend all $2 million this year, as long as we plan for it for future years, we can plan additional projects.
Give it
So
time
essentially,
to-
only $300,000 worth of city roads will get done.
No.
immediately.
No.
That's what the city can match. So we can match for every $1 million, 700,000 can come from PennDOT and 300,000 can come from the city. A 30% match, basically. We don't have the ability to match all $2 million at the present time. Although we could theoretically match it with money from the infrastructure silo or from another source, but
So
that
do you
has.
have a timeline then when those roads would get done? The city roads then?
We're in conversations as we speak with PennDOT. We have a priority list, and we're going to begin with some. But you asked about the entire $2 million, and or at least how it was all going to be working. And right now, the city's position is that it can probably match about half of the $2 million.
Where would you rank getting a chicken cheesesteak named after you and your accomplishments in the first 100 days in office?
It didn't make the list. I don't know why, but I was just there 2 days ago and enjoyed the cheesesteak again. It has evolved slightly. It now includes grilled onions, and it did not have that in the initial concoction. But, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, thank you. On that note, yes.
That was great.
Thank you very much.
Good way to end,
Yeah.
right?